I think about race all the time because it applies to me. Being colored, I think it applies to us more, even more, just because there's also, again, that stereotype that we don't have the same power as, let's say, a white person. To me, it's everyday life things, whether it's maybe a new job, you don't know, like, you know, how they're gonna look at you, or you don't want to give a bad impression, or, you know, there's that stereotype against the way you look, and it's always that kind of stuff. So if it goes in a job, it goes, you know, meeting new people. Some people aren't open as you might be, and they might have that stereotype against you. So it goes down from the biggest things that affect you to like small things like making friends and stuff.
I don't think about race very often just because it's not like a big thing for me. Like, it doesn't change my opinion on people. I think I go like based off of how people carry themselves.
I wouldn't say that I think about it on a daily basis, but I've definitely had instances in my life where I've thought about it more. So I did a racial equity training through my church, through like Race Matters. I don't know if you've done that before, but so that was like a time in my life when I thought about it a lot more. And one of the things I think about is how, as a white person, like how I can talk about it and think about it in a way that's fair and compassionate, but also like I know that I don't understand anywhere near as much as like African Americans or other minority people understand. So I like think about how to ask questions that are productive for me to increase my understanding, and then how I can try to not perpetuate racism as best I can, even though it is so like ingrained and institutionalized in like how life works.
I think about race fairly a lot, but I find that in almost every situation when I'm with my friends that are from other countries or speak another language at home, that I really don't see their culture or even their skin color to be a difference. It just kind of phases out to the back of your mind.
I don't really think I think about race that much because I view everyone as the same. Like, I don't treat anyone any different because they're a different race from me. But I do understand that it's like a problem, like how not everyone is treated the same.
So I think about race really often, especially as someone who is white and whose race isn't necessarily considered to matter as much as someone else's race, or whose race definitely is not marginalized as many as people of other races are. I think about it a lot because I wonder how people's perspective of me would change if I were of a different race, or what it would be like to have a different race and how drastic those differences would be. And I think that there needs to be a greater empathy towards those differences, because a lot of people who have never really been treated with any type of racism or anything like that don't think about the other side.
Think about race a lot. What I'm usually thinking about, I guess, is what's going on in the news, like all the bad things that's happening.
I think about race every day because I don't really have a choice but to like deal with it, and I can always think about like what could happen. So like if like the cops are talking to me or something like that, like what do I say, or like what am I gonna do with my hands or whatever, and stuff, things like that.
I think about race a lot. I think about how different races have to live just because of their race, and like they can't really, like the assumptions people will make because of your race. That's just what I think about.
Well, I mean, it's something that I think comes into play a lot, especially with being in student government. It's something that we think about a lot, especially when like trying to create an inclusive environment. So when I think about race, I think about what I can do and what I'm actively doing to try to ease any relations or create a better community at the school or even within my friends. But yeah.
Well, I think about it a lot because I'm in the African American Honor Seminar, so I guess every day. When I think about race, I really am thinking about just how privileged I am and how different it is to be a different race, you know, trying to look at it at a different point of view, a different mindset, you know, thinking about all the things that I have compared to what other people have. So, yeah.
I think about race pretty often. It's a very often topic for me. It kind of pops up a lot in my feed. I'm very interested about learning about it, about other races. It's interesting.
When I think about race, it's usually usually like when I'm in the halls at school and I see cliques of people that are usually all just the same race. And then I start thinking, I don't know, I just start thinking about how specifically at this school things could be different if more people, I don't know, ventured out into different groups and kept an open mind more often of the time. Or if I ever feel if I'm ever with like a black boyfriend or a black friend, I always try and see how their like daily schedule is always going to be different from mine, and how what they deal with is always going to be different from what I deal with. So, yeah.
I think about race probably 35% of the time, just because like different things come up. Like whenever I'll see like black people in a group at school, or like white people in a group, and like there's different ethnic groups that are like together, and I just noticed that from time to time. So I think it's interesting.
I think about race pretty often. I think it's like one of those things, like as soon as you look at somebody, like you notice like what they're wearing, what race they are, like everything. But I also, like when I hear the word race, like I think of the human race. I don't really think of like black or white. I didn't even mean it like that. But like, you know what I mean? Like there was like some guy that like, I don't know, it was a college professor. I remember watching the lecture, but he was like, there aren't multiple races. There's a human race and then there's ethnicity. And so I don't know.
It kind of just, it's so confusing of an issue. And I think that it's hard because people, like, since it's such like an uncomfortable topic to talk about sometimes, I think people think that they can't have conversations about it, which like, but racism isn't going to get fixed at all if we can't like break past that barrier of discomfort and like have real conversations about it. So that's probably, like, it makes me uncomfortable at first, but then I realize that like it's a discomfort that I'm gonna have to deal with, like, to talk about it. So
to me, race isn't really something that you should use to solely define yourself, as much as more like a parameters that you should use to help you decide who you are. You know, like you always want to fit into like, you know, race is going to help you like really like discover like the kind of person you are, the kind of person you want to be, the kind of people you want to be around. To me, race is like a guiding point.
I don't think about it that much. I think in this generation too, it's like not, like it's just not something that, it is a problem and stuff like that, but I don't think like my decisions on what I do or how I act shouldn't be affected and isn't affected by race or anything.
When I think about race, I think more deeply how other race that are not mine, kind of like how they would feel, things like that. I guess it's mostly on social media. There's a lot of race issues like that, mostly on social media.
I don't really think about race, only when like in the media like something happened with like an African American or a Caucasian or something, or if it's being taught in class, and it's always like something negative about racism. It's never a positive thing.
I don't think about race that often. Like I try to kind of like live my life, you know, because like race is such a big thing these days, and such a big issue. Like I don't want to get involved in it a lot, so because I just want to like live my life like peacefully and not just start up a lot of things.